We're learning the second Sikha on Parshas Noach and Chelek Chafei on page 23. The shir today is being learned L'Nishmas Rabbi Yosef ben Yamim and Rav Menashe Koltman. B'nigeya the erste 40 Tag von Mabel. Regarding the first 40 days of the Mabel, sind da zwei Psukim, wo sind lechere bestire einem zum zweiten. There are two Psukim that are seemingly a contradiction. Früher steht, first the pasuk says, Vayehi ha-geshem ala oretz arbaim yom v'arbaim laila. That rain was on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Ab the Noach steht, but later the pasuk says, Vayehi ha-mabel arbaim yom ala oretz. That there was a flood in the world for 40 days. Ashain in di arbaim yom, that in these 40 days is given nitnar ha-geshem. It wasn't only rain, norech mabel. And the meaning of Mabel means Shabala Esakil, that it ruined everything. So was it just rain or was it a flood? So Chazal answered to this. And Rashi brings this, and Rashi quotes this as well. When Hashem brought down the water, so in the beginning it was brought down with mercy. If they'll do tshuva, then this rain will be a rain of blessing. They did not do tshuva, and therefore haya mabel. This rain became a mabel. Now, when we learned bepashtus, the way what Chazal answer here is understood simply, is the kavana in dem teretz. The point of this answer is as follows: As die zwei psukim reden wegen besondere zmanim. The two psukim are speaking about different time periods. When it says Vayehi ha-geshem, that it was rain, red wegen der Zeit von Tchilas Hayrodas Hamayim. It's speaking about the beginning, in the very first moments when the rain came down. That's when it gets the title as rain. Then it's referred to as rain because it came down with a potential that it will be a blessing if they will do tshuva. Oh, Vayehi ha-mabel. Then when it says the term that it was a mabel, it's speaking about a time right after the beginning. After it became clear that they are not doing tshuva. So then the rain was changed to become a mabel. Und das ist vorgekommen gleich in ersten Tag von der Arbaim Yom. This changeover happens on the first day itself, that the water comes down, the rain comes down. As the pasuk says that it's a mabel for 40 days. So therefore we must say that already right in the beginning, on the first day, it changed over to be a mabel. The waters of the mabel was boiling hot waters. So it's not impossible to remain alive in the waters of the Mabel even for a short period of time. Even in the first day when the waters became boiling hot, it's already a water which is called Mabel, that it destroys and ruins everything. As the Efsharius l'tshuva is given as man kotzer. So that means that according to this pshat, the possibility to tshuva, that chance for tshuva, was a very short period of time during the first day, and that's why it gets the title of rain, Geshem, for that initial descent of the rain that came down with the potential for tshuva. However, it's very difficult to understand this. In Pasuk Shteitach Beferish, in the words of the Pasuk, it clearly says that Vayehi ha-Geshem al ha'oretz arbaim yoim va'arbaim loila. That rain came down to the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, which means as the alle 40 tag, that all 40 days, in itnar b'tchilas ha'yirida, not only in the beginning when the rain comes down, is given ha-geshem. Then it was rain. The title rain here is referring to the time period of all 40 days and all 40 nights. So how can we explain and answer this contradiction? That the rain of all 40 days is a mabel, but it's also referred to as Geshem, which is Gishmei Bracha. Seemingly, we must say that after the first moments of the day, the first while of the day, it already transformed to being a mabel, so it was only B'tchila, like you see it in the language of the Rashi and Chazal, that only in the beginning was it Geshem. Now, then in Pasuk, Vayehi ha-Geshem, volt nit gestanen alle Oretz. if in this pasuk where it refers to the mabul as rain, and it was 40 days and 40 nights, but it would not say the word ala oretz, that it was rain here in the earth below, then it would be possible to answer and explain this. As the mitzias from mabul, shabala sakol chulun, that this changeover, that it turned into a mabul that ruined everything, is geworden wenn die mayim sind gekommen ala oretz. That's something that changes when the water reaches to the ground here below. Das heißt, bei herabkommen von Shemayim, once it comes down from heaven and it reaches to Oretz, it reaches Oretz and impacts the world in a negative way. And this is the Aleph Erzik Teg. This is all 40 days. Okay, let me just read this again over here. That the Bala Sakel, it's a mabul, that's when it comes down to the Oretz. That period. This means to say, by Arabkumen from Shemayim, when the rain comes down from heaven initially, in its initial descent from heaven, the Aleph Erzik Teg, and this is during all 40 days, when Hashem brings down the rain from heaven, is as Geven Geshem, Gishmei Bracha, it's rain of blessing. Now, Komendig Al Haaretz, that rain, during all 40 days, when it comes down further and it reaches the earth here below, vibalt as ba'aretz lamata is given a matzah full vatishachis haaretz. Since the condition of the world below was that everybody, with their behavior was totally bad and ruined, hishchis kol basar al haaretz, and it's here in the earth below, is dart from the geshem givaran babel. So it's here in the earth below where the transformation occurs, that the rain that comes down all 40 days as a blessing, when it reaches Oretz, it becomes transformed into a mabul that destroys. That's what would be possible to say if in the pasuk where it says 40 days that it was a geshem, a rain, a blessing, would not say ala oretz. The pasuk sagt aber vayihi geshem al haaretz. Pasuk clearly says that the rain here in the earth below was geshem, was rain. As nit nor the hirad min hashamayim is given berachmim, not only the descent from heaven in its initial descent was with mercy, not oich beim kommen ala oretz is given geshem. Even when it arrives here to the earth below, it's still referred to as rain, with a blessing. Und das hat angehalten arbaim yom kana, and this is for 40 days, as the pasuk says clearly, arbaim yom v'arbaim laila. So the question remains: what's the answer to the contradiction in the psukim? Was it a mabul for 40 days and 40 nights, or was it rain, a rain of blessing for 40 days and 40 nights? So we can explain this as follows. The pasuk earlier that says that Hashem says that He's going to bring the mabul for 40 days and 40 nights, Sagen Chazal. Chazal tell us, and Rashi bringt es arab b'shinuyim b'pirush al-Torah, and Rashi quotes this with some changes in his Perish on Torah, as the time was das is given b'mispar arbaim dafke, is what's the reason why the number of days that the rain of mabul came into the world is 40 days. Keneged Yitziras Avlad, this corresponds to the creation of the fetus. Shakilkulul Hatriach Liyitzram Latzer Chulul, and this is because they had inappropriate relationships and they caused Hashem to bring birth from these inappropriate relationships. So therefore, measure for measure, the rain comes down also in this number of 40 days, the time of the formation of a fetus. So from this we understand, as das was die Mea Mabel haben Yered given Arbaim Yoim, the fact that the waters of the Mabel comes down this amount of days, 40 days, meant, what this means is, nit as jeden Tag is zugekommen noch anoinisch. It's not that there's a number of days, that each day is an additional day that adds to the punishment of the day before. Noch a Tag from Mabel, another day of the Mabel. No, rather, as this is ein einisch, was hat sich gezeugen, 40 Tag. This is one punishment corresponding to the 40 days of the formation of a fetus, and that one punishment lasts for 40 days. Andere Werte, or to say this in different words, as the alle arbaim yaim, all 40 days when the mabel comes down, then in Beloshna Rogatchover, Benegele Kamen Yonim, to use the expression that the Rogatchover says regarding some matters, anakuda achas. It's all one point. It's 1 point of 40 days. Just like it is with the formation of the fetus in the first 40 days, which is also 1 point. It's a creation of that point of the existence of the fetus that lasts for 40 days, but it's really just 1 point of the creation of the fetus. In the time period of the development of the fetus after 40 days, till the end of pregnancy, in the end of 9 months, from the Rayen, that's the time when the details of the limbs and organs of the child, of the baby, is formed. All the different parts of the limbs and sinews. Was das wird aufgetan, Schritt nach Schritt, und jeder von sie ist eine Sache für sich. This is developed stage by stage, and each part of the fetus is a part for itself, with its own function. As an example, Klolas Hayad, the hand, the formation of the hand of the fetus. Danach, Fanande Teilung in finger, and then it has to be divided into the fingers. Danach, the finger in Prokim, and then the fingers have the different parts, the joints of the finger. Danach, Ziparnaim, and then the fingernails. And then in the expression that the Gemara says, at the end of pregnancy, Nigmaru Tziparnov. It's when the child, the baby, the fetus is fully developed and the fingernails are fully grown. These are the details that are developed over the 9 months. However, in the first 40 days, in these 40 days, it's really 1 point which is created and accomplished. Klolos Yitziras Avlad, the general existence and creation of the fetus. That's the way Chazal describe, with this analogy and with this comparison, the content of these 40 days. So based on this we can understand. There's no contradiction here in the psukim describing the Mabel. Because even if you go back to the original explanation, that when it says Vayihi Geshem and it's called rain with a blessing, it only refers to the first moments when the rain was brought down. As the Yerid is given an Anayfim from Im Yachzeru Yir Gishmi Brache, and then it comes down with the potential of a blessing if they do tshuva. Hat es Keilu given the Mayim von Allah Arbaim Yom. The rain that came down then was 1 point of all the rain that included everything of the following 40 days. Because when the Eibishter brings down the rain, is given ein Hirade, was hat Keil given the Kamus Mayim. This is the rain that came down. The Hirade, when it comes down initially, it includes all the quantity of water, das ganze Wasser, welche Yardu ala Oretz, als Gishmi Brache in the Arbaim Yom Kanal. All the rain that then descended onto the earth below, and it comes down. All of the rain comes down for the Oretz as rain of a blessing for 40 days. But then after the rain initially comes down, and it's clear now that they're not doing shuvah, so now this rain, that all the rain of all 40 days comes down as a blessing. Now this rain turns into rain of a flood, Mabel. Die Wasser von jeder und von dem Yom ist geworden anstatt Gishmi Brache a Mabel Wasser. Now this rain of all 40 days that already descended for all 40 days turns now into waters of a Mabel. That's the explanation. So therefore, in both psukim, it's saying the number of 40 days because in fact it was rain for all 40 days as 1 point of 1 nekuda of the punishment. It comes down initially in 1 nekuda of rain 40 days with the potential of being a bracha, but then that entire amount of water for the 40 days is transformed into a mabel. Let them be according to this explanation. This answers also a change in the language of the 2 psukim that describe the mabel, not only the change of whether it's geshem or mabel, but there's another change here in the language of the pasuk. In the ersten pasuk steht vayia geshem ala oretz, that the rain descends to the earth. Und erst danach kommt die Werte, only afterwards the words in the pasuk follows and says Arbaim Yom v'Arbaim Laila, or 40 days and 40 nights. Mashenk in the zweiten pasuk by Mabel, in the second pasuk where it speaks about the rain, describing it as a Mabel, as a flood, steht Vayihi Mabel Arbaim Yom al haaretz, that the mabul is 40 days on the earth. So it says the timing of 40 days before it says the words al haaretz. What's the explanation for this? Because based on what's explained there is the Taich from the Werte Arbaim Yoim in zweiten Pasuk anders wie in the ersten. The explanation of this number of days, 40 days, in the second Pasuk is different than in the first. The Pasuk Vayiya Mabel Goyme kommt sagen wieviel Zman der Mabel hat gedauert. In the second Pasuk, when it says that it was a Mabel, it's simply coming to let you know how long the Mabel lasted. Und der kommen die Werte Arbaim Yoim gleich besmiches zu Vayiya Mabel, and therefore when it says the number of 40 days, it comes right after it says that there was a Mabel, Vayiya Mabel Arbaim Yoim ala Aretz. But main kipshutai. Because here the meaning of the number of 40 days is literally as der Mabel hat sich gezeigt bepoil 40 Tag ala Aretz, that the Mabel lasted in actuality in the world for 40 days. So over here the 40 days is in the simple sense. But then in the pasuk, before actually in the pasuk where it says Vayia Geshem, that it was rain, kupnit etzelen vifel zman es hat angehalten dem Geshem. The point there of the number of 40 days is not to describe how long the rain lasted for. Von der Inyan von Geshem, because this that it was rain, das heißt the efsharius of Gishmei Bracha, the potential for it to be rain of blessing, is bleis gewen betchila sayirade. In actuality, it was only in the beginning when the rain descended. Und gleich danach is es nepach geworden le Mabel. And afterwards, it was immediately transformed into being a Mabel. Kanal is explained. Now, the pasuk is eisen zu sagen. Here, the point of the pasuk is to explain Vayihia Geshem al haaretz, which means as follows: the mayim al haaretz is given in an oifen fun Vayihia Geshem. It's coming to say that the point of the rain, when it initially descended into the world, was to descend for the people here in this world as a blessing. That if they'll do tshuva, it'll be a blessing. That's what the pasuk here is coming to describe. The initial descent was for this purpose. Umaisif, and then the pasuk adds another point. Nit nor di mayim from the erste Zeit, and it clarifies here that the Mabel initially was Geshem, rain as a blessing. It's not only the rain for the first moments of the Mabel, from the alle arbaim yoim arbaim loila, but it was all the quantity of the rain that was for the remainder of the entire time. Shoin dan betchilas hayirade hat the Geshem gehat die kamas hamayim from mem yoim gishmi bracha. At the beginning of the descent of the rain, it was all the quantity that then later came down into the world for the 40 days. So the pasuk is then adding and clarifying this point that in the beginning it was a bracha. In the beginning it included the entire quantity of all 40 days. That explains the order in the pasuk. However, this explanation requires another point to be explained here. The point of this idea that the first 40 days, or this number of 40 days rather, is corresponding to the 40 days of the creation of a fetus, and therefore that explains why at the beginning, when the rain came down in the 40 days, this was all the rain in one point that comes down in the beginning, is bloß that time of them was the Arbaim Yom Shel Mabel als einisch zenen eine Kuda. That's brought there all to explain regarding the punishment. Why the waters as a mabel, as a punishment, was 1 point. As the Medrash says that they, with their Aveda, caused Hashem to form a child in an inappropriate relationship. So this is all regarding the Einish, the mabel. But what connection is there with the number of the 40 days to what we're speaking about here, which is the fact that it's rain, which is a blessing. And therefore, this is the number of 40, and the number 40 as one nekuda. Why, in relation to the fact that it's a blessing, rain as a blessing, is it all there right at the beginning as 1 point, all the quantity of rain for all 40 days as 1 point in the beginning? Das verstehen, so we can understand this from the Pir Pnimi, in Inyan HaMabel, by looking at the explanation that it says in the deeper meaning of what was happening at the time of the Mabel as it's explained in Chassidus. As hamabel, so to quote words that Alter Rebbe says in Torah Oyer, that the mabel ba l'tayres haaretz, it came to purify the world. Kimala haaretz chamos v'niskal kol ha'oid, the world was destroyed and degenerated, and therefore v'hayenitzrach l'tara, it needed a purity. Uluzayis ba mabel, and therefore the mabel comes into the world kedugmas hamikveh, memsa, like a mikveh, which is the amount of 40 saw. She metaheres esatame, and it purifies one that's impure. So to here, the number of 40 is corresponding to this amount of memsa in order to purify the world. Und der wird der Mabel Gufa angerufen mei Noach, and therefore the Mabel, the rain of the Mabel, is referred to as the waters of Noach. What does it mean? It's Noach's waters. Was the Name Noach is al Shem Neiche. The word Noach means rest. Neichel el Yainim, it brings rest and calmness to the worlds above, and Neichel Tachtainim, and also Neiche, rest to the worlds below. But das was the Mabel is an initial einish chulu. The fact that the Mabel is a punishment is blois mitzad anshe deira Mabel. For that generation, the people of the deira Mabel, because of their behavior, this is a punishment. Aber mitzad atzmai is esmei Noach. But the waters of the Mabel itself, identifying what it is, it's referred to as the waters of Noach. V'mitzad Noach is as an inyan for Neiche. Because as far as the waters itself, it's something that brings peace and rest into the world, tares haaretz, to purify the world. Apizeh kemen taichen. Based on this, we could also explain Vayihi hageshem ala haaretz arbaim yom geimer kipshutoi, that when it says in the pasuk that the rain was in the world for 40 days and 40 nights, rain as a blessing, now, according to the Alter Rebbe's pshat, we can explain this in the literal sense as the geshem gishmei bracha, that the rain, and a rain of a blessing, that actually during the entire duration of the 40 days, it was actually a blessing. Is das gestirnit as in the Zelbe. 40 Tag is given Mabel. And it's not a contradiction to the fact that in the same 40 days, it's actually also a Mabel. Weil der Mabel is b'pnimiyusoi gishmei bracha neiche for the Welt. Because the Mabel, although externally, for the people of that generation, it's a punishment, but really, what the Mabel is a cleansing, to purify the world. Furthermore, could be said, every day of the 40 days when the rain came down, it accomplished two things at the same time. It purified the world, and it also ruined everything. So it's what it says in both psukim means 100% literally every one of the 40 days. This idea that every day it's also a blessing is hinted in the word Mabel itself. Mabel is from Lashon bull, b'toisvis mem b'tchilasai. Mabel, besides we translate it as a flood, and or as Rashi says, bolas hakayl, it ruins everything, but Mabel also is the word bull, adding a mem in the beginning. Now what does the word bull mean? Was the word bull vaista of gishmei bracha. The word bull means rain of a blessing. Kamayim Chazal, as it says in the Medrash, al aposik b'yerach bull. In the month that's called the month of Bull, was as gate of Chedesh Cheshvan, when it's gay in Gishmei Bracha, it refers to the month of Cheshvan, a time which is a rain season and rain of a blessing, and that the word Bull means Bizman Shaha'aretz Oise Bulim Bulim, the time when the earth below becomes clods from the rain, a lot of rain that comes onto the earth below. So the word bull itself, ma bull, you read it together as one word, ma bull, bala sakayel, so then it's negative. But really, it has in it the word bull, which means a blessing. This also explains, according to the explanation before, that we're talking about the quantity of rain that came as one akuda in the beginning, when it came down. So this explains also how was the arba'im yoyim from gishmei braches and an ein akuda, that the 40 days of it being rain of a blessing is all also one point that comes in the beginning. Because the number of 40, which corresponds to the 40 saw, the amount needed, the minimum amount for a mikveh, is 1 point. Was the shear from memsa is videragachav mairech an etzem echad. The amount of 40 saw for a mikveh is also not a shear which is the quantity that it combines one amount and another amount until you get to the full amount of the 40 saw, but the 40 saw is a new creation of a new existence that comes into being when you have the amount of 40 saw. It's one akuda. Same thing here, according to the explanation before, that the Hiridam Berachme means in the beginning, that it was the entire quantity all at once in one akuda. The reason why this applies to the Gishmei Bracha is because it's Gishmei Bracha like a mikveh that has this amount of 40 saw. Ati Bracha in Inyan HaMabel, the blessing, this blessing in the Mabel, as Durechim is Gevarin Tares HaOretz, that through the Mabel it purifies the world, is Eich angedeitet in the Maim Chazal Anal. This is also implied in the Maim Chazal quoted earlier, that Keshahayre de Kadosh Baruch Hu HaMayim, Haridem Tchila Berachmim, he brought it down to the world in the beginning with mercy, Kedei Laharais La'olam, to demonstrate to the world, Shem Yeshuvu Yekablam, that if they'll do tshuva, it'll be accepted. Shem Yachzru Yeh Gishmei Bracha, and therefore as a result of that tshuva, this rain will be rain of a blessing. So in this you see also the bracha that there is in the Mabel. The Kilkula Aretz Lefnei HaMabel, the world was ruined to the point that it was so low from the Welt, the condition of the world, it was impossible that the world should do tshuva and to be purified on its own. Therefore, what ended up happening is that generation of the Mabel did not do tshuva. And therefore, the point and the accomplishment of the Mabel is that it did purify the world. As das hat reinbringen in Welt the koyach of tshuva, that this brings into the world a power, a new koyach, to elevate from such a low place, a koyach for tshuva. And that's what it means, laharais la'olam shum yeshuva yekablam, to demonstrate to the world a possibility for purity, for tshuva, even in this situation. Und das ist der Remes, v'kavanas hakasu vayihi hageshem ala haaretz. So now we could say that there's a hint there in what the pasuk means to say by this, that it says that this is rain on the earth here below. This is referred to as a rain of blessing. Although for the people of the Mabel, the way it affected them in actuality, they did not do tshuva. And for them it was a destruction. However, the grain of a blessing that Hashem brings down with mercy, it doesn't remain above, that it doesn't have any effect in actuality here in this world. Nor the pasuk adds the words al haaretz to tell you this accomplishes here in the world an effect for generations in the future, that the Mabel introduces the power of tshuva in the world here below. Even after you're in such a shvala matzav, such a low place, there is a new power of tshuva to purify oneself. And through this you nullify the aspect of Mabel in the water, the fact that it's boiling hot and it destroys, and it becomes through tshuva rain of a blessing in a simple sense. And as the Medrash says, regarding these 40 days, as that every year, even after the Mabel, there was a certain remnant, a certain mark in these 40 days of rain that came into the world. Until Shlomo Melech built the Beis HaMikdash, then and then this effect on these 40 days from the Mabel was stopped. This is the reason why Chodesh Cheshvan has the other name in the pasuk as the month of Bull. Mabel ksiv chaser mem. The word Mabel is written here, but without the mem. Keneged arbaim yoim shepasku, because this is after the Beis HaMikdash is built, and now it was stopped. Rain in these 40 days. V'meila is gevarim bull, from Mabul, which could also mean to destroy. It turns into bull, which is, as mentioned before, shaharetz eiser bulim bulim. It's positive with the amount of rain that turns the earth into clouds. Gishmei bracha bepashtus, becomes into rain of a blessing in the simple sense. That was accomplished in the future generations, here in the earth below. So even though then Ala Oretz, it was a Mabul, but the Pasuk says, V'yishme v'hi geshem ala Oretz, because this had an effect of Gishmei Bracha in the world here below. Val Durich Binyan Beis HaMikdash. It's specifically through the building of the Beis HaMikdash, V'sat Oivgeton Ashinui V'zichuch in Welt, that brings a change and a purification to the world, a Lichtigkeit von Mikdash. The light of the Beis HaMikdash, Durich Tichalainis, Shkufam Atumim, through the windows of the Beis HaMikdash that were narrow on the inside and wide on the outside, is Batal Gewaren der Reishim, was geblieben von der Mabel. This nullifies the remnant of the negativity of the Mabel. Biz, this is Gewaren, Gishmei Brache, Bepashtus, and therefore it becomes rain of a blessing, simply Bull. And therefore the name of the month is also the name Bull, rain. On the Shleimus, von Taras Haaretz, V'tzayin Lasad Lovai. But to an even greater degree, the completion of the purification of the world will be in the future when Mashiach comes. Then, then we won't only drop the mem and therefore have the blessing in the word bull, nor euch the mem fun mabel vet nesapach werden letoiv. Then the entire word mabel, including with the mem, will all be transformed into good. The 40 days that purifies the world, kedugmas hamikveh mem sa, similar to the mikveh that has the number 40 or 40 sa, zanedach de beginner fun mem stuma. The mem here in this number of 40 refers to the closed mem, the shloss mem at the end of the world, the end of a word, that is. Bedugmas mikveh und mem sa de mikveh velachazane bechinas mem stuma. As it's explained regarding this amount for the minimum kashrus of a mikveh, 40 sa, that this 40 refers to the purity that comes from a mikveh, and therefore the mem is a mem stuma, the closed mem that refers to a very high level that's revealed in the purity of the mikveh. So even at the time of the Mabul itself, this great revelation that will be when Mashiach comes was revealed where? Not in the world in general, but in the Teva of Noach itself, where there was a miraculous existence. And this will be revealed when Mashiach comes. In the far hat man dem koyach zum mahapach sein dem mem fun mabel. We have the power to bring about the full transformation, including of the mem of the mabel itself. The mem sucha was meramas of golus, the same letter mem, but when it's the mem in middle of a word, which is open at the bottom, which is a mem that hints to a source that brings to exile, as alveren a mem stuma, that it should be transformed into the closed mem, versus merames of geula, that hints to the coming of Mashiach. And this is hinted in a pasuk in Tilim, where it says, or rather, a pasuk in Yeshaya, where it says, Lamarbe hamisra, u'lishalem en case, when you'll have the abundance of Hashem's authority and peace, endless level of peace. And here it's written with that closed mem inside the word, hinting to this transformation that happens when Mashiach comes. And the Rebbe adds that the term lamarbe, specifically this word of abundance, or to add, is the transformation of the vayirbu hamayim, the rain, the flood of water that becomes transformed into the revelation of when Mashiach comes, begula amitis v'ashleima al yedei Mashiach tzidkenu b'meheira v'yameinu mamish.